good day, everyone, and welcome to Obedient Family TV, the program Now Hope Alive. Yes, Hope Day for those that believe that a new Nigeria is possible. Today is another day, and we are reaching out to all what is happening in Nigeria. We have different headlines coming out of Nigeria here, especially the one that has to do with the delegates list. As we know, we have a 30-something men delegates going to Qatar with Tinubu, and this list, as we can see, is the heading from 1 to 2 is all about Sheyi Tinubu, Yinka Tinubu, and all the Tinubus involved. Is this a private visit or is it an official visit? We are bringing that across to you. Then we are going to go over to Qatar, precisely where we can find hunger everywhere. And the governor is said, or reports coming out from there, is that the governor provided palliatives in form of breads that are scattered in the floor of a warehouse. And we see that the people over there were scavenging, trying to pick bread. Let's take a look.
What's happening live in the Lorry campaign? You can see.
When we go from my airport,
look at them, look at them. Hey! Hey! Wow! Hey! 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 Oh, yeah, yo, yeah. See Nigeria.
You can imagine a government that is very responsible for its people, that cares for its people, that is worried about the hunger and hardship in the country and on that state, to use a warehouse to actually demoralize the people of the state. Very, very appalling. We are going to talk about that, and we are going to talk specially on the questions that are being asked on different messages that are being sent to His Excellency Peter Obi, who has responded to these messages. All of these things now we go talk, plus other things. And as usual, no be only me go talk am. I get Divine for studio.
Good day, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so as you join us now wherever you day, good morning, afternoon, and evening, depending on our time zone. Make we go straight into waiting carry us come. Make we even first, before we go to the brouhaha that happened yesterday, the NLC protests and all of that, before we get into that, let's even tackle the issue of the Lorraine issue, which is very, very appalling. Governments, I choose not to believe that a governor is aware of this arrangement, that a warehouse filled with palliatives called bread in the form of palliatives are being asked, not even putting people in line to give them this, but on the floor.
Well, once again, we've seen another disorganized movement from the, government of the day, right? Like the situation where they were giving bread to the residents of Lagos State, we've seen them again repeating the same thing, but this time in another state, in Ilorin, right? And we can see in the videos, people are scavenging, running helter-skelter, trying to pick bread. And this is just the situation that the Nigerian-led government has, reduced Nigerians to. We've seen how many people running, trying to, and the sad thing is how much bread can you take enough to, you for a period of time. It's like, to when this, economy is so large and the people are so big, for you to run the company, or rather run the country based on palliatives, and they should do better. If for any reason you decide to, probably out of an act of generosity, because they deserve better than this, you should be able to conduct it in an orderly manner and not strip them of their humanity.
So I think that Governor Abdul Razak of Kwara State has a question to answer on this. Is this the way that they are going to treat people who elected them to power? I thought that they said that the power belongs to the people. We'll get back to that very subject again. But let's take a holistic look at what happened yesterday across the Federation. We recall that there is NLC had their protest yesterday. At the end of this very same protest, they said that they have achieved their aim of doing the protest within 1 day, though it was proposed for 2 days. But what they wanted within 24 hours, and they are going to call it off. Do you still think their intent, whether the intent is just for them to walk around the whole Nigeria, or actually to make government to do the needful?
Well, as they said it was a hardship protest. They were protesting the harsh economic situation and the realities of the people, and this was just a ploy for them to get their voice to be heard. And we really don't know what went on behind closed doors, but all we saw is that after a national executive meeting, they came out to say, oh, they're going to put a stop to the protests going on nationwide, because in their own words that they've achieved what they needed the protest to achieve, which we were yet to see physical results. But you see, you can't cry more than the bereaved. We hoped that they had continued, because these governments, they are very, I don't want to use the word tone deaf, but most times you need to keep emphasizing, and 9 out of 10 times, even after you've placed so much emphasis, you don't even get enough response. But if the labor force say they've gotten what they want, I hope it trickles down to the layman in the labor force, not just a group of, elites or bosses in the Nigerian Labour Congress getting some, stipends, and then we're back to square one.
Yes, I think also that the purpose for which the NLC staged their protest was actually premised on the issue of hunger and insecurity in Nigeria. And for them to mobilize supporters across the nation and then stop it midway, if you ask me, because they said 2 days, and resort to, oh, we have achieved the aim of it, which is mobilization. Now, is mobilization going to solve the problem of hardship in Nigeria? Please go to the comment section, tell us what you think. Is the purpose of coming out not to let the government abide by the promises it has given the NLC over time? Was that not the purpose? Was it just to show the federal government led by Tinubu that they had a large number of followership across the federation? Tinubu already knows that. Nigerians already know that. But the issue of today is about hardship, is about hunger, which the government did not come out anywhere yesterday to say, oh, they are taking action, they've heard the plight of the people, and they are working towards it. None. Only for us to come out to see that there is another delegate that is going to escort Tinubu to Qatar. And those in the delegate, the majorly starting points are Sheyi Tinubu, Yinka Tinubu, and every other person that answers Tinubu. That is what we see in that place. Is that how to run a nation? So coming back to you, Divine, before we get to P2B's response to the Oronsaye's implementing that very, now looking at this very particular list and delegates that are going there, it still goes back to the implementation of the Oronsaye's report, because they are talking about trying. Oronsaye's report has to deal mainly on trying to reduce government expenditure. Now, he said he's going to implement it, started implementing it, but we can see from the people who are traveling with him that no, it's probably implementing that report is another vuvuzela. Or what do you think?
Well, we can see that the report was aimed at, cutting the cost of governance and having those bogus, MDAs and agencies to be removed. So we realize where the money is actually going to, because there's a lot of unnecessary, or rather defunct MDAs that we have in the country, and agencies that should be merged into one. And that is really the whole point of the Oronsaye report. And actually seeing that the Tinubu-led administration said they are going to adopt it is just, interesting to see because they've released their list for the people that are meant to be delegates to the visit at Qatar, and we're seeing a lot of names that I don't really understand. We're seeing things like MTA camera, we're seeing members of his family going with him on the trip, and I just want to ask, is Nigeria running a monarchy and we just don't know about it? Because why do you have your two sons part of the delegates and you're insisting on, reducing government expenditure and the cost of governance, but you keep, taking people that are not even relevant to your cause of assignments in these places that you go to? So it just begs the question, it's like, what is the willingness of this government to actually, implement this report, or is it once again one of the propaganda that they pay the media houses, or rather just publicize just so it looks like they're actually doing something? Because if we want to utilize this report and implement this report, we have to start from the basics. We have 24 billion naira that was assigned for Hajj subsidy, and this is all in for what? Because if you say you're going to reduce government expenditure, you should start on time. It should not just be a bogus plan or something you just sell to the media and then, we just go with it. We're watching to see if he actually makes, use of it.
Well, he's already prepared to waste taxpayers' money on this very delegates list, and even this 37, we're very sure that this is not all, because they definitely know that this list is going to come out, right. So they try to position it to be down. Probably we will see about 1,000 or more, even probably 500 people that might be going to that place. When he gets there, the pictures or the videos wouldn't lie. So we'll get back to this, but while we are on this, let's not fail to realize that several people have sent text messages to His Excellency Peter Obi regarding the implementation of this Oronsaye's report, and he has responded to it. But before we get to what Peter Obi has to say about this report and how he wishes to deal with it, he says so many things about it, and even on his manifesto. We'll get to that. But before we get to that, I want us to look at the issue that has to deal with the apologies that Godswill Akpabio did. Yesterday, we get that report that Godswill Akpabio has, kind of apologized to the governors for saying that they all received 30 billion naira in an unconfirmed report. Yeah.
Well, he mentioned to us that it was some unverified reports, even though it is just very, interesting to see that someone that of his caliber can come and make such bogus statements. I expect more from him, because if you're going to address the Senate, at least have your facts straight. But nobody's above mistake, and I want to believe maybe it was just genuinely a mistake on his part and he has retracted it, because these governors we saw over the last week refused this claim that he didn't get any money like that. But
I think I'm not seeing this very way you see it. You know why? Because I believe that this is the number 3rd man in Nigeria, the Senate president. He doesn't make those kind of pronouncements without facts. You understand? So there might be a reasonable probability that these governors got something within that range of 30 billion he's talking about. Maybe not necessarily called for hardship money or something like that, because they are all coming out to say that the 30 billion was said for hardship money. They never received any money. But there is something that I am thinking is possible, because from the reports coming out from the fiscal allocation that is coming out from the federal government allocations, Federation account, the money that the governors get every month that is shared between all the tiers of government is really very higher than before, based on the removal of the oil subsidy.
Well, speaking of the removal of the oil subsidy, I think reports showed last year, around April last year, that Nigeria imported, I think, about 2.2 billion liters of petrol monthly, right? And then after the declaration of the removal of fuel subsidy on May 29 last year, we noticed a significant, change or drop in the in the amount of fuel that was being imported daily. So we understand, I mean monthly rather. So we understand that the money, as this removal of fuel subsidy has saved the government a large amount of money, and so if we deposit that in the federation account, it actually makes sense to think that these
the governors are getting
more money than they usually do. But I think the problem was just him coming out to say categorically, yes, the allocation or statutory allowance of the states might have increased, and yes, we expect that they account for it, because if you're if the money you're giving increases, we're meant to see the changes in the states you rule, or rather you govern, right? And so having said that, we understand that it might not necessarily be totally a lie that they got such amount of money, but at the same time, it's just problematic to categorically state that this money was given, especially if there was no, fixed amount that was said, okay, you know what, this is the money we're giving you people to alleviate hardship. So no, we're not exonerating the federal government, and we're also not exonerating the state governors. We're just saying that it is a possibility that they got more than they usually get, but at the same time, the majority of the brunt is not just on them. Even the federal government still owes a duty to the Nigerian.
I think the long and short of it is that the governors in the last, let's say, since the removal of the oil subsidy, has been receiving much more money from the federal allocation that comes to them than they usually receive. And when you quantify that, it might also boil down to that very 30 billion naira per month. Now, are they supposed to use that very money to help on the hardship that is coming on their states? Yes, they are. But somebody, you can go to the comment section and do that. But we also have that talking going on at the mainstream media. We are not the only ones who wish to talk about this in a different way. And we have that of Arise that specifically talked on how Akpabio apologized. But we are saying that not just apologizing, but they knew the truth. They all know the truth. Let's take a lesson from Arise analysis.
Of the Senate, Akpabio, is said to have apologized to the state governors over his comment on the 30 billion naira hardship allowance allegedly given to them. Akpabio had at plenary sitting last Tuesday during deliberations on the ways and means collected from the Central Bank of Nigeria by the previous administration, said that an unverified report indicated that state governors received 30 billion naira each from the Federation account to cushion the effect of inflation and the high cost of food prices. Some state governors, like Seyi Makinde of your state, refuted the claim. The question now is, who has that 30 billion? Where is that 30 billion?
The Senate President has apologized, but the problem here is about the high office that he occupies. Right. Now, the Senate President of Nigeria cannot afford to engage in beer parlor talk.
I've never seen anything like that.
Because when he made that statement last week Tuesday, he was saying unverified reports. Now, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic and Chairman of the National Assembly cannot be reporting rumor from his chair as Chairman of the Senate of the National Assembly. And it's just as well that Governor Makinde waded in and said nobody gave them any 30 billion. What they got last September was 2 billion out of the 5 billion loan that the federal government had promised to give the states. And Senator Akpabio should desist from this kind of conduct, because this was how he said the federal government didn't know what to charge Emefiele for, that they were looking for what to charge him with. No, that position should not be a seat for beer parlor talk, because it's a very serious position and seat, and that's why senators are called distinguished.
Absolutely.
And the Senate President should set a good example.
Very well.
So the states should do the needful, and the governors, I believe, should do the right thing. Let's get to what His Excellency P2B is saying about this Oronsaye's report, which is actually trending right now across the whole place. Everybody is talking about the parastatal and all of that.
Well, he said, I have received several text messages from people wanting to know if I would have implemented the Oronsaye reports, which full implementation has just been directed by the president. In response to their questions, I'd like to refer everyone to my manifesto and my response to similar questions during my campaigns. On the 5th of October 2022 at Harvard University, I was asked, would you implement the Oronsaye report? And I responded in the affirmative. I went further to explain that implementing the report is one of the best ways to make governance efficient, cost-effective, and productive. Being in opposition does not warrant blind and thoughtless criticism. Whenever the government takes the right decision, we should, and if need be, propose related or even better ideas to move the nation forward. I have always been an advocate of the 3 critical components of the Oronsaye report, which are 1. Drastically cutting the cost of governance, 2. Eliminating the overlapping of responsibilities to ensure that responsibilities are appropriately domiciled, and 3. Increasing efficiency and effectiveness, which will increase productivity. Although the implementation of the report is long overdue, its implementation is a welcome development so long as the decision is informed by these principles. Beyond implementing the Oronsaye report, the government should go further and cut the cost of governance across board. Having found it imperative to implement the report, the government should now do away with the bogus and needless wastages of our scarce resources on frivolous issues and deploy such funds to the critical areas of education, health, and pulling people out of poverty. However, we must not rush to implement the Oronsaye report just because those that will be directly affected are mostly civil servants. A very deep understanding of the workings of the federal bureaucracy will be required to effectively implement this report. He went further to say that grasping the symmetries between the federal and other tiers of government will be imperative as federal agencies have branches and outreaches in all the 36 states. We, the political leaders, should be ready to back up such implementation with our sacrifices from comfort and selfishness for the overall development of the nation. In implementing this report, conscious efforts must be made to cushion the effects of such major overhaul on the workers to avoid driving more people into hardship in these very challenging times. Also, Nigerians are yet to be informed about the extant white paper pertinent to the report's implementation. Moreover, you cannot ask those who are likely to be affected by the downsizing to manage the process. Government must also show clearly the amount of resources to be saved in the implied shrinking of the government. It should also indicate clearly where and how the saved resources are to be redeployed. More importantly, the implementation needs to be accompanied by a template to avoid a future bloating of government. By doing the right things and implementing the right policies, we will build the new Nigerians of our dream. Signed, Peter Obi.
Yes, PO has spoken, and he has actually schooled Tinubu on what needs to be done. Right. Let them not rush it like they rushed the subsidy stuff and then ends Nigeria in this quagmire we are. So I think he has given some sort of direction, and I like something that Obi spoke about there. It's not just about being an opposition, but criticizing. But when government takes a good approach to things, you should also give them thumbs up. But what he doesn't usually do that he has done them, he has given them a scope on how to do, because it's affecting Nigerians, and if they took any rush approach to this, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But let's also not look away from people who doesn't understand this Oronsaye's report is. It has to deal with shrinking the expenditure of the executive and other parastatals of government, putting them together to work well. But I would have wanted to get you across this report in a link through our content on the platform, but that will come later. But nonetheless, let's see what ministries, parastatals, and agencies that they want to merge. And the people that are working in these places as we speak right now are actually floating, not minding the hunger. They are floating because they don't know their fate, whether they are going to be relieved or they are just going to do what is going to happen to them. Let's take a look at what the special advisor to Bola Tinubu had to talk about that is Bayo Onanuga. And let's watch out these agencies. If you work there, please start learning skills on how you are going to help yourself, because trouble is really coming. This is Bayo Onanuga, who says that the complete list of agencies, commissions, and parastatals affected by the approval of the Federal Executive Council meeting of 26 February 2023 on the Oronsaye panel report. This should be 2024. Whatever. But let's get ahead. This is Bayo Onanuga. If he makes a mistake, maybe whoever is doing that for him needs to check the date. Now, recall that Oronsaye's report actually came 10 years ago. Right. Of course, some shifts, some things, dynamics would have changed, but all the same, let's still go ahead with what he has said. The agencies to be scrapped. Number one is Pensions Transitional Arrangement Directorate to be scrapped, and functions transferred to the Federal Ministry of Finance. So the people will be saying they work for Pension Transition Directorate. Make una know say, then talk say na scrap, they want scrap am. Begin find wetin you go do. Number two, National Senior Secondary Education Commission to be scrapped and functions transferred to the Department of Basic and Secondary Education in Federal Ministry of Education. National Senior Secondary Education Commission. Make una know say na scrap, then talk say they want scrap am. Whether they want scrap or na comot for there, we no go tell for now until that time. Agencies to be made, the ones where they won't put together. National Agency for Control of AIDS, NACA, to be merged under the Center for Disease Control in Federal Ministry of Health. Number two, National Emergency Agency, NEMA, to be merged with National Commission Refugee Migration and Internally Displaced Person. Whatever that means. NEMA is going under these very people. Number three, Directorate of Technical Cooperation in Africa, to be merged with Directorate of Technical Aid. This thing goes on and on and on. I go advise make una go waiting by your Onanuga's post. Make una for see different, all the old agencies so we say e dey for that very place on X, formerly Twitter. If you go there, you go see Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission, National Agency for Science and Engineering. All this one, they talk say they won't put them together. But for the people where we say they know say they want delete, where they want scrap, make you know say your job there on the line. Go find skill where you say you go do, make you for the eat. That one I will just bring them subtly. For some people where we say they know the grammar where they inside that white paper where they just they speak grammar inside. May I come back to studio to you, Divine. All this talk about Oronsaye, remember that this very report is actually 10 years old. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of talk. But do you really think that Tinubu and his cabinet way of doing things want to implement this report? Because right now there is hunger in the land and there is starvation, there is protest everywhere. I'm thinking they are just using that their APC kind of maneuver to sway people from thinking about the hunger, the starvation, and the protest that is going on to think that Tinubu has an intention to actually open up that reform, to take on the Oronsaye's report. Because if he is, these people that are actually going to travel with him shouldn't have traveled with him. Those numbers like his son, his brother, his nephew, and the rest of people traveling with him. It doesn't show that his mind is on implementing that report.
Well, I'm going to refer back to what His Excellency P2B said in his tweet thread, right? Speaking of which, where he mentioned the need for the government to actually have an alternative for the people that are going to be retrenched from these agencies, because it goes beyond just saying we're going to implement the Oronsaye report. Yes, it's a step in the right direction, but this administration is known for making bogus claims and not following through with it. After a lot of propaganda around it, we just have the conversations in the media, and then it just dies in natural death, right? And so if you're going to implement this is a step in the right direction. But personally, I buy into what His Excellency P2B was saying. It should not just happen overnight. There should be, a time frame where they get to work with, so that they know. And there should be new places. Look for a way to fix them up, because there's hunger in the land, right? And so you cannot ask these people that you're, retrenching them, or rather, like you're merging this. Bodies and these parastatals, and then you leave them jobless and hungry. So it is necessary that as you're cutting this cost of governance, you also make provision for the people that are going to lose their jobs with this. And also, secondly, he also made mention of transparency. If you cut this cost, we should be able to tell that, okay, this is where this money is going to. Because all these parastatals and commissions, they get their own piece of the budget, of the national cake, right? And so if you say, oh, we're not working with this any longer, we're going to go with this, you should be able to say, okay, this is the amount of money we've been able to save from cutting the cost and merging these people, right? We also have our own Rufai Oseni saying that we should ask President Tinubu, didn't he know that he would implement the Oronsaye reports before he created new ministries, one of which is
he created the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, Tourism, Art, Culture, and the Creative Economy, Gas Resources, Steel Development, Finance, and Coordinating Economy. Now, I ask again, with over 45 ministers, was the president thinking of the Oronsaye report then? This is a question coming from Rufai Oseni on his X handle. And that is part of what I'm talking about, because P2B, like you said in his report, that from his manifesto, he has said it there, that he's going to work on it, he's going to implement it. So if he did say he's going to implement it, there is no way he will be creating blue or black or whatever blue CA ministries that Tinubu has created. But anyway, I think we have seen that there's a much difference. But like you said, Tinubu may not be willing to implement this very report, but using this very thing to divert attention of Nigerians on this very particular hunger strike and protest that is going, because from his most recent one that is happening now, the delegates that are going there does not suggest he understands the implication of implementing the Oronsaye's report. Well, that's as much as we can take from that very side. But before we go, we have one of our own, Hilda Dokubo, that said that one of the problems in Nigeria is the currency. In response to one of ours in diaspora who happened to say one or two things. Let's take a listen. We'll not go.
Please, what is the relationship between $300 in 1 week and $20 in 1 month? Because this young person who earns $300 in the week earns a total of $1,200 in the month of 4 weeks. But this, my 30,000 naira person still earns 30,000 naira. So now let's look at it. $1,200 is 1.8 million naira. If I'm using 1,500 a dollar. But you and I know that as we speak right now is 1,600. 1,608 for a dollar. Now, the person who earns 30,000 naira is actually earning less than $20. Please, I don't understand. How do you equate a man who earns $20 to a man who earns 1,200? Why are people so wicked? Meantime, the person speaking is a Nigerian resident in the UK. Why don't you come back and live in Nigeria? Since everything in Nigeria, by your own assessment, is okay. We're the cheapest nation on planet Earth. Fantastic, bros. Bring your
when we say this our sister, they talk, you know yourself now. Wherever you do, don't hear the response when she give you. I believe so you think.
Well, yes. Even though we understand that Nigeria is not the only country with economic issues, but I'm coming out to say, oh, I live here and this is my reality, and Nigerians should stop complaining, or basically trying to trivialize the struggle here, is what is very saddening and triggering, to be very honest. Because what it goes to show is that at least you're in a system that works. Let's agree that the money you earn is not enough to, do the entire most for you where you are at. But at least you have the luxury of light, you have the luxury of a good road, a working healthcare system. And I think that's more than enough to be grateful for, because if Nigerians had access to the least of some of these social amenities that you're able to enjoy in a country that actually works, then they will not be on the streets every day talking about hunger and protesting about hunger. We saw Aisha Yusuf mention that I don't think anyone knew Tinubu was this bad. It takes a special kind of failure to be worse than Buhari.
Well, I think that very area where you're talking about the people in diaspora that that Dokubo was talking about, I think what I have to say to our people is this. Not just about the conversion of the dollar, not just about the food that you eat over there. I also want you to know that the air that you breathe over there is different from the air that is being breathed in Nigeria. The air being breathed in Nigeria here is polluted. That's why the life expectancy here is short. It's not the same. The water you drink over there is not the same water that is being drank over here. It's not the same. But you get your own opinion. Go to our comment section. Tell us how you feel about this same discussion. Another discussion that we have heard. Please don't be at this very point and you don't like this very video or you don't share this very video. At this point, please do. The obedience needs to stick together. They need to listen to the thoughts going around and the opinions until we are able to have a meeting where we'll bring in and unveil the Obedient Family Cooperative Society. So I keep talking about it until we unveil it because it's in the making. Obedient Family Cooperative Society. So until when we come again later this evening, bye for now.